Yes, give in to your dark side. Hey, what are you doing here? This isn't your franchise. Yeah, well, just want to get my money's worth out of this gag before the avocado's spoiled. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. Today I'm taking a look at the DC Multiverse Collector Edition Christopher Reeve Platinum Edition based on his turn to villainy in Superman 3. I'm also giving away a standard edition to one lucky subscriber. Starting off with the packaging, and this comes in a matching Collector Edition window box to the regular Christopher Reeve, right down to the pictures on the back, despite the fact this is from Superman 3 and not Superman 1978. The only difference being the Platinum Edition sticker. He also has the same barcode, which you can find down here. For those who are curious, this is number 25 in the Collector Edition series. While I would have preferred this to be its own separate release, the box is still fine. Well, except for the fact that Amazon treated mine like evil Superman chucking Clark Kent into the trash compactor. That said, and based on the design of the box rather than how mine was shipped, for packaging, this corrupted Kal-El gets 4 points. Moving on to presentation, and the evil Superman stands at a sinister 7.5 inches, or an insidious 19 centimeters. He's also complete reuse of the standard edition, including this scruffy, angry head sculpt. He was originally included with the regular Christopher, pretty much just so that they could make this platinum. Don't worry though, McFarlane did make use of the regular head, but we'll get there in playability. Though this particular version's a repaint, the figure itself is a 100% new sculpt, and for the most part is a pretty solid rendition of Christopher Reeve Superman. As I said in my original video, I do wish the musculature was a bit more defined since it was on Christopher Reeve himself, but in general the broad strokes were there, and while I have seen comments that think that this figure's too spindly, I think he cuts a pretty good silhouette. The only real inaccuracies are the cuffs around the sleeves, and my personal frustration that the wrists aren't flesh toned. That said, there is a solution to this I've seen online that I want to try later on in playability. For this edition, it really just all boils down to the paint job, and for the most part, I'm really happy. When Superman went bad in the movie, his color scheme became a lot darker. An argument could be made that this might have gone a little too dark. On the trunks, you can kind of see that it's a really dark red, but on other parts of the figure, it almost looks brown. That's especially the case with the cape. Additionally, the inside of the cape is actually much brighter. The fact that the cape is two-toned could be off-putting to some collectors, but it actually reminds me a lot of Brandon Routh's costume in Superman Returns, and makes me wonder if we aren't possibly getting a figure of him this year too. That said, I do appreciate that the S on the back is a darker yellow. One thing I really like is that McFarlane went in to add lots of scuffs and shadows. It makes him look rough and dirty, which, given that his fight scene was in a junkyard, is pretty appropriate. Lastly, and let's talk about the head. As DC Multiverse likenesses go, this one is pretty strong. They did a particularly good job on the shaggy hair, complete with graying temples. In the movie, he looked a bit more orange in this scene, but I think this looks a bit better, and the 5 o'clock shadow really sells it. In fact, thanks to the paint job, it kind of feels like more effort went into this version than the regular one, docking him ever so slightly for some of the color choices as well as the wrists. And for presentation, I'm giving Evil Superman 4 points. If you're enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and give it a like. Moving on to Poseability, and while I have already looked at the articulation of this figure, it's not bad to revisit it for those who missed it or maybe those who don't remember. Working our way top down, and Evil Superman's head is on a dumbbell joint. He can look up this high, which is good, but again, not as much as I'd like to see for a flying character. By contrast, and here's looking straight, and then here he is looking down. The upside of the dumbbell joint is that he gets some really nice tilt, and of course all the way around. Moving down, he can raise his arms just about 90 degrees. Great amount of range in the rotator cuff, and no trouble with rotation. Moving on down, and that bicep swivel is nice and smooth, and when it comes to double jointed elbows, you can't beat the bend on a DC Multiverse. Again, we have that wrist ball that can swivel and hinge in any direction, and then moving to the middle, Superman has a diaphragm joint and a dumbbell waist. He can arch back this far, which for a flying character is exactly what I want to see, in combination with his neck articulation, and here's what that looks like. Alas, in being a DC Multiverse figure, he gets virtually no hunch forward whatsoever, but the tilt's great, and so is the twist. Hiding under the trunks, and we have our standard DC Multiverse hips. Supes can kick this high, which is really impressive, and kick this far back. He's also got a super perfect split, and a decent amount of twist in the hip. Moving on down, the double jointed knees have have a nice deep bend, and then working our way all the way down, Superman has toe articulation and ankle balls that can swivel, hinge, and like Superman going from good to bad to good again after inspiring the junkyard fight between Freddy Krueger and Kincaid in Nightmare on Elm Street 4, pivot. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. Held back only by his inability to hunch forward. For Poseability, I'm giving this Superman 4 points. Moving on to Playability, and Corrupted Superman comes with all the same accessories as regular Superman, whether it makes sense or not. First things first, and we've got a trading card. Again though, it's just for the regular version, and it's just a generic Superman origin. They did include a flight stand though, and that's always appreciated. Otherwise, and so far we've been looking at these fists, which make a lot of sense. He's also got these open palm hands. Those are good for flying, karate chops, and doing the robot. Even these grapple hands are useful. What makes less sense is this hand, which is just a less grapply version of the grapple hand. And this hand that's like a flight hand, just not as flighty. But then you have this pointer hand. It's cool, but doesn't really have anything specifically to do with Evil Superman. And then you have his crystal holding hand, which definitely doesn't have to do with Evil Superman. I guess if you wanted to, you could try to age him more and then make a Superman 4 version when he's really sick after his battle with Nuclear Man. And while I know it sounds like I'm just complaining about having extra accessories, that's not exactly the case. It's more my frustration at what could have been had this been its own release instead of a Platinum. As I said in my last video, I would have much preferred this to have been a 2-pack with Clark Kent. Instead of a crystal, it would have been great to have that lump of artificial kryptonite that Gus Gorman whipped up that turned him evil to begin with, and an alternate Screaming head would have really just set the whole thing off. I'm not saying this is bad, I'm just saying that there are some missed opportunities. McFarlane did give us this alternate Heat Vision head, but that's just the regular Christopher Reeve head with red eyes. Although the evil Superman did use Heat Vision a couple of times, his eyes never glow red in the movies, and with the hair clearly being regular Christopher, it doesn't really fit. That said, if you wanted to, you could use that head on your regular Superman, as long as you don't mind Superman having a 5 o'clock shadow like a hobo. Oh, sorry, Tyler. Otherwise, and one thing adding a lot of play value to this figure is the wired cloth goods cape. But playability is more than just accessories, it's also about how well your figure plays with others. The thing is, I pretty much showed you every possible comparison in my regular Christopher Reeve video, so with your blessing, today I'm just gonna go straight to the head swaps. In no particular order, and for one that I got a lot of requests for last time, and here's Page Punchers. If DC Classic was your regular Christopher Reeve, Page Punchers is clearly a great choice for the corrupted version. You've already got that great darker color scheme, and while you would have to do something about the skin tones, as well as the trunks, I actually really like this. Boxing glove hands notwithstanding. Other way around, and I don't really see this being anybody's go-to. Still, I do feel like I needed to show it to you. For another one I got some requests for that make a lot of sense, and here we have Ultraman. Obviously, the proportions are much bigger than Christopher, but conceptually, this is a neat idea. You would have to do something about the skin tones. Other way around, and the skin tones don't match here either. Still, it's an outside-the-box concept, though I'm not sure that this face is realistic enough to work with this more realistic body. For a fellow 5 o'clock shadow having gray-templed, swarthy Superman, and here's the Gladiator version, this actually works much better than I expected. There is a difference between the skin tones, but in normal light, you really can't tell. The difference is a bit more pronounced this way though, with the Gladiator head being a bit small and sitting a bit high. Next is Superman the Infected. Obviously this is a bit bulky for Christopher Reeve, but it's still a lot of fun, and if you wanted to bust out the paints, you could do something with it. Other way around, and this is legitimately creepy, calling to mind Jack Nicholson's makeup in Batman. Superman the Infected is a great segue to Bizarro. I'm not sure that anyone out there is looking to do this, but if you wanted to make a Christopher Reeve style Bizarro, this would work. A really skilled customizer could probably even do a hair transplant. I know I did this combo in my last video, but I really wanted to see it with this color scheme. As long as we're talking about villains though, and I've got to bring out Cyborg Superman. Similar to Bizarro, this is one that I already showed you on the regular Christopher Reeve body, and if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out because I do a lot more part swaps on that one. Mainly I just wanted to see this head on this color scheme. The one that I'm the most curious about and got the most requests for is Red Sun Superman. I like this way more than I expected. The skin tones are about a perfect match, and seeing this really makes me want them to do a live-action Red Sun movie. The alternate head with the glowing eyes is pretty cool too. Other way around, and this is a really cool combo also. With this swap, you can see that there are differences in the skin tones. Still, if this inspires you, I'm happy to help. And on the subject of helping, one thing I forgot to do last time was show you this head as Clark Kent. Admittedly, I had my doubts, but once I put the glasses on, I actually really like it. If you were to take the glasses off, it would also make for a really good Bruce Wayne. Lastly, and here he is with the hands and wrists swapped. True, they are the older style wrist balls, but they are the right color, and the hands are just much better proportioned to the body. If you're wondering, and I'm sure you are, here's how that looks on the regular version. Does making this a platinum mean that some of the accessories don't make sense? Yes, but I'm never gonna say no to more accessories, and combined with the wired cape and added head swap potential, for playability, this Superman gets 5 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Evil Superman is a platinum edition and therefore hard to find, but I was lucky and got mine for retail through Amazon. Honestly though, it was really just the luck of the draw. On eBay, the aftermarket prices are between $40 and $80. Looking at the sold listings though, and most are going for about $45. My recommendation is to be patient and wait. With dozens of listings on eBay, sellers are bound to become more competitive sooner or later. As long as you persevere, good is bound to triumph. Docking him for availability and for price, I'm giving Evil Superman 4 points, averaging out to a still good total of 4.2 out of 5. As for the standard edition, I'm giving one away to one lucky subscriber. Pretty much in my quest for a platinum edition, I ordered a couple of extras and got this one. I was gonna try to sell it, but after the plain overwhelming response to my Black Costume Spider-Man giveaway, I decided to give back to you guys and spread the love. For a shot at winning, all you've got to do is 1. Be a subscriber, and 2. Comment below and tell me that you want it. Deadline to enter is Friday, March 14th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The winner will be announced on Sunday, March 16th in my long overdue Superman Doomsday 2-pack video. This giveaway is not sponsored by McFarlane Toys, DC, YouTube, or anybody else, and it's open to everyone worldwide. Please though, only 1 entry per person. Multiple entries will get you disqualified. Yeah, demon in a bottle, am I right? For more Superman videos, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice and have fun.